Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Creating Tailwinds Podcast by Flight Path Financial with your hosts, John Urbick and Jared Adams. Join us today as we discuss the power of infinite banking. And here we go.
Greetings, John. Hello again. How are you, sir?
Jared, good afternoon to you. How are you today?
How's your day going today?
Fantastic. I've got my refill on my coffee, and I am all set, all fired up from Think Tank 2026, Birmingham, Alabama. What'd you think?
It was awesome. I always come back fired up. I mean, I say always. It's my second think tank, so it's not like I've got 20 years in the making. But last year after Orlando, I was all fired up afterwards. Here again, I am again. I love it. It's awesome. What a great group of people.
Fantastic. It was one of the best on memory. They've all been great in their own way, but different spin this year, different discussions, different people coming at it from their angles. This is the infinite banking resource to tap. There's so many different ways of treating and employing infinite banking in our lives individually and with businesses. Awesome stuff. Awesome.
You know, here's the crazy visual that just came to mind. Have you seen the movie Avatar?
No.
All right.
No, I don't watch movies too much.
I'll give you the description, even if you haven't seen it. They are very spiritually connected to nature, right? That's just part of how they do their day-to-day life. And one of the things they all have this like little ponytail that comes off and it connects to a variety of things. And the humans that show up, they can't figure out how they do it. They just don't understand how they do what they do. And so this gal, one of the researchers, comes down with like a little, almost like a needle that she puts into the root of the tree. And
Right.
she's just blown away by the network that she has access to. That's kind of like Think Tank. You show up and you just plug in to this network of other people that are living, breathing, infinite banking concepts. And it's just so cool for me to be around a bunch of people that think like-minded, but also to hear the stories of how they've grown their business, how they've impacted lives for people, how they've been able to just make a positive impact, which is what we're all about. Like, that's what we're here for. We're very fortunate to have, infinite banking be just a part of our day-to-day, and we want to help people. We want to meet them where they are. But, within reason, we're not out there doing it full time. We're just still kind of playing in that realm of what that looks like. So to be able to connect to the root, just like they do in Avatar, it's awesome.
That's a very nice segue into what we're going to talk about. Truly.
Yes.
The theme, as you recall, is thinking long range. That was the theme of
Long range.
this year's think tank. And, as you and I have discussed on many different occasions, there's so many different places you can go with this. But to me, what strikes me is we are inundated with information. There's noise everywhere. We live in a digital world, and we're exploding with information, and we get sidetracked. And Anton will call side quests. I go on these side quests. It was something interesting to dig into, and it takes you down another path. Our message is pretty simple: thinking long range, thinking long term, ignore the noise. The three main points that come to my mind is ignore the noise, think long range, and don't do business with banks. And what does that really mean? So maybe we could talk about some of that today.
I love it. I mean, just the whole name of the think tank, the concept of all of it, which was think long range. That in itself, that is a benchmark of the ability to pass on a legacy, to build something that is not just financial in nature. You could save your entire life and pass on millions and millions of dollars to the next generation. But if they don't have an education or a knowledge of what to do with it when it arrives, what did you pass? And it takes long-term thinking. It takes the idea of not just passing along finances and dollars and cents, but passing on generational knowledge as well. And so that was one of them that came to mind when you're talking about think long range. Like, how would you put the first one to life of just avoiding the noise? What do you think of when that comes to mind?
Well, I think you just turn off all the different channels that we listen to every day. And they talk about sitting in silence, just thinking. Some people pray, some people meditate. Whatever works for you. You have to have quiet time to collect your thoughts and think, how I'm going to approach this day. especially if things are beginning to pile up on you. Look, a circumstance which is unique in that all of us carry challenges, all of us have our internal battles. Everybody, I don't care how wealthy you are or how despondent you are, everyone has challenges. So remember that. So the person that you meet on the street, they're working hard just like you. They may not look like it, but they are. So take stock in yourself. There was a great piece I was listening to this morning. This is a bit of a side quest, but I'll be quick. And it's about the miracle of you. And if you look at all the different problems that we gravitate toward and worry about, the miracle of you, all the generations that preceded you, everything that had to go perfectly right, any one of those links in those connections broken, you wouldn't be here. And your parents meeting, the probability of your parents meeting, and the probability of your grandparents meeting, and the probability of your great. When you look at all these numbers working together, they're stratospheric. So celebrate the now, celebrate you, celebrate you're here, you're living, you're breathing, and you can think. And that's the most powerful thing you've got. You've got your intellect. So, and Jared and I would hope, are here to help you in this journey toward a life that you envision. How do you feel about the present? Are you even looking at it? Are you so preoccupied with other things? Well, step back, think little bit about what's it look like for you, and what would you like the future to look like? How would you like that to transcend generationally to your family? What would you love to have happen? You can do all
Yeah, and
this. It's exciting.
in order to think long range, though, you've got to be able to think short range as well, right? You
You
can't
bet you
just
do.
avoid the present. You might want to have a 1, a 3, a 5, a 10-year plan. And if you can't envision that happening, well, then you're not going to be able to think long range either. So, you know,
100%.
but part of avoiding the noise to me, and this is a maturation process that I'm still struggling with. It doesn't matter if it's politics or beliefs or differences, whatever they are. If you look at it through the lens of the other person is always trying to do what they think is right, they're not out there within reason trying to, do something ill-willed or wrong or otherwise. Like, that's really hard to do, though. It really comes up in politics and other pieces. But like, the other person's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
look at it through that lens, what a big glass of empathy that fills up. And I'm the first one to say I have not done well with that, especially in my 20s. But as you get older and you realize how little things matter on those global scale, how little you can impact it. How much you've got to ride the ride and do what's best for you and your family, but at the same time, hating your brother, hating your neighbor over what? Like, they're just trying to do the best they can as well. So I
And
don't
that's time, and that's your most valuable asset, and you're wasting it where? No, your time is your most valuable asset.
the best thing I did was turn off the news.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean
Yeah.
I ignore it. I can still catch an article here and there that may talk about
Right.
what's happening in the world or in the US or in even our local state and cities. The best thing I did was turning off that stinking news station.
Yeah. It's
Sorry, I don't mean to sound preachy, but that
no,
was the
no.
best thing for our house.
Totally get it, Jared. Totally get it. But that's what makes this so exciting to me is we can change people's lives. And actually the people who change their own lives are you people out there that are listening. You can change your lives with this. Jared and I are just facilitators. We can show you the pathway, and it's up to you to either walk it or choose not to. We're here to help everyone. And we truly enjoy what we do. We enjoy helping people. And financial freedom is the foundation of personal freedom. Because if you're not financially free, you're worrying about, how you're going to rob Peter to pay Paul. You don't have to live that way. We could show you a much, much better way. 34%, Nelson showed over 34% of every dollar you spend goes to some sort of financing. Don't do business with the banks. And Jared, tell people what we mean by that. You can't not do business with banks entirely, but when you're banking the way we bank, infinite banking is controlling the banking function in your life. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Jared.
Yeah, I guess, the question you might ask if you are in control of your capital or if you are the one that is controlling the banking function for your household is, when you go make a big purchase, whatever that is, a car, furniture for your entire living room, a house, education, a wedding. We're not talking about going to the grocery store and buying a gallon of milk. We're talking about a large purchase for your house. When you do that, where does the financing come from? Are you able to tap into, a resource or an asset that you've built up that you control? Or do you have to hope that the financing terms are favorable or hope that the financing environment is okay? Do you have to go down to the bank and beg for a loan and hope that at the time that the interest rates are good and that they're willing to do a background check on you that passes and that your financial picture is good enough that they're going to allow you to have some of the money that you've already put on deposit in their account? So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the bigger question there is, do you control the capital that enters your environment?
And these we get these statements annually on clients, and it's just fascinating to look at these things and to see that cash value grow. That's their financial freedom, their financial independence, which allows them to do more things. And every time I get one of these, I get excited because I get to call the client and say, "Hey, let's do a review. Let's go talk about this thing." And they're like, "Wow." I mean, here's one that's jumped dividends. Dividends alone were over $3,400 on this one contract. 3,400. Where have you ever seen a bank account where you're seeing interest that's not taxable at $3,400? They don't exist unless you've got tens of millions of dollars sitting in a bank on that 0.02 nothing percent that they're giving you. This is awesome. This is real money. It's tax free, accumulating inside that contract, and you can tap it vis-a-vis a collateralized lien against your cash values anytime and for any reason that you want, and you don't have to tell anybody. It's not a reportable event. It's freedom. So that's what's so
So
cool about
that's
this stuff.
but that's why we say don't do business with banks. If you're in
Exactly.
control of your capital, then you don't have to worry about whether or not the interest rates are or fill in the blank level,
Don't care.
whether or not they're going to approve your loan. You know, one of the benefits of having a dividend paying whole life insurance contract is that you get to borrow against the life value, I'm sorry, the cash value, which is basically the present value of the future death benefit. You get to borrow against that amount and it's collateralized by the death benefit. They can't say, no, you're not allowed to have that. Nor will they ask, what is your repayment terms? Or
Right.
will they ask, what are you going to use this for? Again, you don't have to use that for those big purchases. But if you're not doing business with banks, you're in control.
Absolutely right. And as you build this thing, you're backstopped. You live your entire life backstopped by your contract behind you. You go, who else? You're going to send your girls to school, go to college. You're going to pay for that. And you say, okay, I'm going to use money from my contract. If you borrowed that money from a student loan or you bought it from a bank, you got to pay it back. And if something, God forbid, happens to you, that debt is still there. Unlike you've just taken it from your insurance contract, they're just going to when somebody
They'll
leaves
just
this
reduce the
world,
death benefit.
they just reduce the death benefit, and it's still
That's
all
right.
tax free. So you've
That's right.
had full use, access, and control of that money for your entire life for the benefit of
Well,
those you care about. It's
and
awesome.
I'll even spin you one more on that same topic. Let's say you don't pass away. So I finance the girls' college while they're in college, and I pay that back over the course of fill in the blank, 4 years. If that was somebody else's obligation, I just filled their coffers. I just put money into the bank. They loaned it to me, but I paid them back plus interest.
Right.
What happens via a collateralized life insurance loan? Well, I put that money right back into the coffers that I can now borrow from again. So it's not just a single use. The dollar has a single use every time you put it to work. As you repay it, you can borrow from it again. So it's not magic. It's there. It's simple math. Yet those benefits just go often overlooked.
Well, I'm not a golfer, but here's an example. You go to you're the golfer, but you go to your golf bag and you pull that 7-iron out for the shot, and every time I've used that 7-iron, I'm landing on the green. So if I land on the green the first time, the next time out to bat or to golf, I use my 7-iron and it happens time and time again. So pretty soon it's a rinse and repeat. What club am I going to go for? I'm going for the 7. Why would you grab a different club when you know this one's gonna put you on the green? That 7 is all but guaranteed to put me on the green. I'm taking a 7. I just happen to like that number too.
I like it. I like it. There's
There's your
plenty of
policy.
good holes in that golf analogy, but I'm not gonna pick them away.
Well, the great thing about golf is about 90% of it is made up, and the other half is just fake.
Well, that's a difficult game. You can play that your whole life and never truly master it. That's such a hard game.
Well, I'm sorry to go down that fairway, but
That's all right. I'll give you a mulligan.
yeah, oh, thanks. I need more than one and a new bag and probably a new 7-iron too by the end of the conversation.
Well, but we left the middle one out, right? So we said, part of the process of thinking long range was avoid the noise, and then we also said don't do business with banks. But what's the third key aspect?
And the most important one of all of them really is thinking long term. Everybody gets so preoccupied. What's my rate of return? What's this going to work? How can I invest this? What 100 what questions without stopping and really seeking the silence of the moment to think, where am I trying to go with this? What's my objective? Where do I want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? That's the long range planning. That's the long range thinking. The most powerful part of money growth is time, the time value of money. And that's why we always advocate, take a look at this as a foundation to any good financial plan. You can have money in the market and all kinds of different asset classes and investments, but if that market tanks by 30% and you start your next year down 30%, your contract is not down at all, it's up. The market could crater. We could have just economic mayhem, doesn't matter. That contract is gold, and it's going to be there for you, and they've been there for well over 100 years, paying dividend consistently year over year over year. It's the single most powerful asset class financial planning tool I can think of, bar none.
Yeah, I don't want to be able to look back on this pod 3 years from now and go, yeah, we were right. I really don't want to do that because all economic indicators show that it's not really in a great space, from inflation being sky high to, the whole market just kind of being pinned on it's a house of cards, right? And I hope that that doesn't happen. I hope that it doesn't crumble.
All
But
of
if
us
it
do.
does, what a great spot to be in with a consistent, guaranteed. I mean, even if the dividend was not to happen, let's say that 2026 was the first year in 127 years that that company didn't provide a dividend. Okay, maybe that's the first year that it didn't happen out of 120 some odd years. You've still got the contract there you can borrow from. It's as long as premiums get paid, you're still growing year over year. The dividends are a nice bonus, but they're far from the linchpin that makes this happen.
Right. Of
The
course.
linchpin that makes it happen is thinking long term, having a nice, steady, slow growth, and continually paying premiums over the course of a lifetime. I mean, that's really how you build your warehouse of wealth. I have to share, when they did one of those little breakout tables and you
Right.
had 4 or 5 other people that were sitting at the table, there was a gentleman who'd been doing this for his family for probably 20 plus years,
Right.
but he had been doing it as a practitioner for maybe 4 or 5. And he works with a lot of business people, a lot of folks that were, their cash flow is very strong, balance sheet strong, good outlook for their company. He changed the terminology from paying premiums to, he calls it paying deposits. And the reason why he calls it that is, he said, when you have had an amazing year and you've got $1 million in the bank and you're ready to put that, to use, do you get excited about depositing $1 million into a, you know, fill in the blank portfolio? Do you get really excited when that happens to deposit that $1 million into the future account of which you're going to put that to use? And so through that description alone, I just love how he renamed it. He called it deposits into your family bank as opposed to premiums. And there's a lot of similarities that you can describe there, right? When you make a premium payment, you're kind of making a deposit into your family bank. You can borrow from it at a future time. You can use it as a leverageable asset. It's just what you decide to do because you're in control.
Control is the operative word, isn't it? You have ultimate control of your money. There's There are a few places that give you that, and the properly structured infinite banking policy, or it's not a policy, but an infinite banking constructed life insurance contract is one of the few facilities that we have that can give us that. So very
And
poor.
maybe that's a question that needs to be asked, when you're taking some quiet time and you're trying to figure out what's going on, what's your outlook 1, 3, 10 years down the road? Are you in control of every dollar that comes into your environment? Do you have to turn that over to somebody else's bank in order for them to control it? Or do you control it? Because Nelson would tell us if you control it, you're capturing 34.5% interest. And if you're recapturing 34.5% interest of every dollar that leaves your environment, what you're paying in interest doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right. What would the compounding be on 34% interest? I mean, my gosh, that's a doubling every essentially 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you
Two and
could,
a half, 3 years.
yeah. So I mean, if you
Yep.
if you could cut out the interest that you're paying to others, oh my gosh, think about what that would do to your nest egg. What's what what is possible changes entirely, and what what I like to look at, and I know what you also like to look at, is not what's where things are at, but what's possible. The possibilities with this are incredible. And you start scaling out your money when you control it. Wow, 2 years looks good. 8 years looks good. 15 years looks phenomenal. 30 years, you write your own check, whatever you want to do. It's phenomenal. And anyone can do this. You can do it with as little as a few $100. People were, how much is it going to cost me to do? You can do it with a couple $100 a month to start. You don't have to do, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, right? So we have clients that have very small deposits, and we have some clients that make very, very large deposits. It doesn't matter. The system and the process is the same. And that's what we'd like to get across to people. We'd love to
That
answer
sounds
your
like a good
questions.
podcast topic. The difference between the process and the product.
This is not about product. The
I
product
know, I
is
know. It sounds like a good podcast topic. We should maybe we'll tackle that one at a future date.
Well, let us know, those of you that are listening out there, what you think and what you'd like to hear, and we would love to accommodate your requests. So maybe we
Yep.
should do that.
Yep.
Top 40 requests, maybe. What people want to hear. We
Yeah. 40 requests next by
Here we
Casey
go.
Kasem.
Hey, some people won't know who Casey Kasem is. That's going back a little bit.
Well, since we did talk about Think Tank, I can't miss the opportunity to say thank you to the entire Infinite Banking team. A lot of folks based there in Birmingham, Alabama, from Lee Barganier, David Stearns, all of the people who made that event happen. Absolutely amazing, amazing think tank. And then to all the presenters, I don't want to try to list them by name because I'll miss someone and I'll feel really bad. The presenters this year were absolutely stellar, out of this world. For anybody that may have been there, that was fortunate enough to tune in, thank you, because it was absolutely stellar this year. I had such a great time, and I'm so thankful for the people that take the time to make that happen.
I couldn't agree with you more, Jared. And I hesitate to put this out there, but I'm gonna. One of the things that we do with our with clients is we'll give them an invite to Think Tank. It's a buy invite only kind of thing. It's a industry special. But if you're really intrigued by this, especially if you're an insurance professional and you want to learn more about it, contact Jared, contact me, and we'll see about getting you into one of the next think tanks. It is an unbelievable, unforgettable experience, and they're life changing. So
February 27 will be in Birmingham, Alabama.
We will be there. We will be there. Yep. If you have interest in that, let us know. You can read Jared at flightpathfinancial.com. You can reach John at flightpathfinancial.com, or pick up the phone. Numbers are on our website, and we'd be more than happy to talk with you live and in person.
Yeah, we'd love to have that AI bot answer the questions. Oh, wait, we don't have one of those. Never mind. Sorry.
No, we're live.
People.
We are live.
We're just real people. Well, that's awesome. So, well, thank you, John. Appreciate the time. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Jared, as always, great to see you.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.
You too, Jared. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Cheers, John. Bye.
Bye-bye. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Creating Tailwinds podcast with your hosts, John and Jared. As always, we welcome your questions and critiques. You can reach us through the Contact Us tab at flightpathfinancial.com. Remember, it's all about how you think. As Nelson Nash has said about infinite banking, give it your close attention, and it can make a radical improvement in your financial future.